and thank you for coming for part 2 of how to make a tiered skirt. This video assumes that you've already watched the how to design a tiered skirt video and that you've already designed a pattern. If you don't, please go back and watch the previous video. For this video, this will be the pattern that I'm using. The first step is to cut out the pieces according to the layout you designed in the first video. The easiest way to do this is to use a roller cutter on a cutting mat, but if you don't have access to this, you can just draw out your pattern on the fabric with fabric chalk or a water erasable pen, and use fabric scissors. Once you have your pieces cut out, attach the different panels together so that each of your tiers is one loop. I find it easier to finish the seams as I go, so after sewing each tier together, I run it under the serger, but you can use any seam finishing method you like, such as French seams, flat felled seams, or even a simple zigzag stitch. Now that you have your loops, the next step is to create the gathering. To gather the stitches, you'll need to set the stitch length of your machine to between 4mm and 6mm. If you haven't gathered stitches before, I recommend testing it on some scrap fabric to find what setting on your machine is easy to gather for you, while still giving you the look you desire. Once you've set your stitch length, sew 2 parallel stitches on the top of all your tiers, other than the top one. I recommend doing 2 different sets of stitches for each half of a tier, since that'll make it easier to adjust how tightly the fabric is gathered later. It'll also be easier to remove these stitches later if you make sure that they are not sewn at your seam allowance, but rather spaced around it. Before you start gathering your stitches, mark 4 evenly spaced corners of all the tiers. You can do this with pins or by pressing a crease with an iron. Now gather the stitches so that the larger tier can comfortably fit in the bottom of the tier above it. The next step is pinning the bottom tier to the top tier. To make sure your gathers are evenly distributed, line up the 4 corner markings you made earlier in the 2 adjoining tiers. Then loosen the gathers so that each quadrant is fully relaxed on the smaller tier. Make sure to pin generously once you get your spacing and gathering right. Once your tiers are pinned together, sew the tiers together, making sure to readjust your stitch length back to a standard size. Once that's done, all that's left to do is remove the gathering stitches and finish your seams. I recommend either a serged edge or a zigzag stitch. The basis of the skirt is complete once you attach all your tiers. All that's left to do is install your waistband and hem the edges. The instructions I'm going to give are for a 1-inch waistband, but if you're using something larger or smaller, adjust the second fold accordingly. First, to ensure a clean finish, fold and press the top edge of the skirt by 1/2 inch. Then turn and press the edge by 1.5 inches. Then stitch down the waistband, leaving a gap of at least 3 inches wide to feed the waistband elastic through. To get your elastic to the right length, hold one end of the elastic on the small of your waist, and then lightly stretch the elastic around your waist until it's a comfortable tightness, with a 1 inch overlap at the end. Then cut the elastic to that length. Feed the elastic through using one safety pin to hold one end in place, and another safety pin to feed the other end through the waistband pocket. Then attach the ends together securely. I usually do this in the shape of an X surrounded by a square. Once it's attached, fully stretch out the waistband to more evenly distribute the fabric over the elastic. Sew close the gap you left for feeding the elastic through. Then top stitch 1 or 2 times, ensuring that the elastic is against the top edge of the pocket as you're sewing. You'll notice that after top stitching, the elastic is looser than before. This is fixed by using an iron or a steamer to shrink the elastic back down with heat. Now all that's left is hemming. Try on the skirt first to make sure it's about the length you want. If it is, then fold and press the bottom edge of the skirt 1/2 inch twice. Then sew it in place near the upper edge of the fold. And then you're done. Trim any loose threads from the previous steps and you're good to go. Thank you for watching, and I hope this was helpful for you in making your own tiered skirt. If you end up making a skirt from this tutorial, please share that with me or let me know how it goes.